Hey guys, I'm Lauren Jane. I'm a fine artist and art marketing coach. And in this video, I'm sharing some secrets that I shared in my Facebook group called Art Biz Secrets. If you are an artist and you want to learn how to sell and show and promote your art, that is the place to be. But I'm going to share today a secret live video that I just did for them, telling them how to write posts on Facebook in order to hopefully get more collectors and clients for their art. And if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, come join us over in Facebook and learn about the psychology of posting your art on Facebook in order to get more sales. I wanted to pop on because I just created a piece of art. I finally finished it. Took me a while, but it's because I have a lot going on. That's why I'm not as active in the group anymore. I apologize, guys, but I am moving over to like YouTube and I'm sharing a lot of art secrets on there. And I'm working with Photography Academy and people that are creating online businesses and people who want to build their YouTube channels. So all sorts of fun things. But I wanted to talk to you about the strategy behind like the marketing and when I'm posting and what my psychology is of what I'm thinking when I'm creating a post like this. So I created this pretty quickly. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it in the grand scheme of things. Like it didn't take, maybe an hour to write it or anything. But it's because over years, I've built up a practice of constantly posting and I already know the different like points that I want to hit, the main reasons or the things that I'm saying. So easiest way is just to go through the post and show you and explain to you what I'm thinking. So I am going to do a screen share. Bear with me for just a moment here as I share the screen. If you guys are popping on, let me know you're here. All right, share screen. There we go. Move this up here. And oh, you can see me. Okay, psychology of the post. All right, so on the left side of the screen here, maybe I should make this bigger for y'all. This is the actual post. I'm going to zoom out so you can see this is about the dog drawing that I just finished. They're corgis. It was a pen and ink drawing on paper. So the post here, I'm going to make it big for a second. Okay. So I start with, and my creation is complete. So this, I'm going to go right over here to the idea behind it, is context. I'm giving the audience a context. Why am I posting this? I'm done. And now I'm sending it. And that is why I'm creating this post. So first you're just introducing, why are you posting this? And then I'm adding, the next one out is a testimonial. So I say, I'm always a little sad to see a piece go, but I love getting messages like this from my collector. Oh my gosh, I'm blown away, like holding back tears, excited, love it. So this is the actual text that I got from the collector. I sent them a photo to make sure that they liked it before I actually send it. And just basically like, this is a great testimonial. It shows that the person's happy. It shows to the next hopeful person that's going to buy my art that they liked working with me. They liked the product. It's helping them to see that other people like what I create. Therefore, maybe they'll like my stuff too. So, and maybe think about, the person viewing your post may have never seen your art before. I have close to 5,000 friends on my Facebook and a lot of them are still like, oh, you do art? Like they don't always see what you're posting all the time, especially if like you're like me and you post a lot of different things. So sometimes you have to kind of beat them over the head and be like, this is what I do, So next down, I'm talking about why art matters. So I'm telling them, I said, just rolled it up, sent it on its way to its new home with one of my lovely art collectors who's just a dream to work with. I'm also wanting to compliment the person in case they read it. I'm so grateful for those who value the arts, those who want to create meaningful, personalized paintings, drawings and paintings. Because not only does it support artists like myself, it supports a higher value within society and culture. So that is saying, hey guys, art matters. Because some of the people on my Facebook friends list may think, why does art matter? Why don't I just go to, like Walmart and get something from there, like commercial art? Not that that's bad, that's created by real artists and it's a whole different strategy. But we're talking about like fine art. We're talking about when you're making originals and maybe just a small selection of like a small edition of prints. But we're talking about, people who are buying, like either they're commissioning you to create an original or you've already made it and it's, it's something that you created and it's totally different than going to Target or Walmart or whatever to get a commercial painting. And so we're trying to help them understand, why does this matter? And it, and I truly believe that, it does uphold a higher value within our society and culture. I mean, if you think back to the Egyptians, like their hieroglyphs, the drawings they did on the walls, we still look at today, and it tells us about their culture. So art is a way that we can connect to our past, and the art we're creating today is going to help the future generations understand us. So I really, truly believe this stuff. I'm not just trying to like get in people's heads. Hold on just a moment. I'm going to take a sip of water. If anybody's on, let me know if you have any questions. I know I'm doing this impromptu. We do have one comment. We got Jamie Brandon Hanny on. How are you doing? All right. So next I move on to, in a fast-paced society where we can snap a million photos, there's something to creating fine art that is carefully crafted, handmade, and filled with love and passion. So again, I'm explaining, I mean, you can take a million photos with your phone, and because everything's digital now, like it's a whole different thing. Sorry, my phone had volume still. It's a whole different atmosphere than, back in the Renaissance period, where the only visual things you had were paintings. Nowadays it's just like, it's easy to throw out art, just like left and right, and like what's really truly valuable. But it's when someone really puts their care and their time into like carefully painting something or drawing something, or maybe carving. There's all sorts of different things, but it's a whole different thing when you get something that's just handmade. So I'm trying to express that to the potential customer that is potentially reading this. So I move on to, I've painted Renaissance style portraits. I've drawn classic black and white nudes using charcoal. I've splashed paint into abstracts with wild abandon. I've created the sun, the clouds, the moon out of oil paint. So what I'm doing there is I'm establishing what other mediums I work with. So I want them to know I don't just do pen and ink drawings, because that's not my usual thing. I want them to know that I do portraits, I do the nudes, I do charcoal, I do paint, I do abstracts. Like, I don't want to be pigeonholed into, now I'm just drawing corgis for the rest of my life. Like, this is my second corgi drawing, because she saw the other one I did and she loved corgis. And apparently there's a whole culture of corgi lovers, and that's awesome. And I agreed to do this one because of how much they meant to her. And she clearly communicated that to me, as well as I'd worked with her in the past, and I knew she was a great, person to work with. So, but the point, what I'm trying to do in this part of the post, is to establish I work in other mediums. So if you're someone who does a lot of different things, or maybe you just did one weird one-off medium, like someone asked you to make a sculpture, but you usually always do paintings and you really want to stick with paintings, then let them know. Like, because they're not going to know if you don't put it in the post that normally I do this other thing, but this was fun. This was good. You don't want to like cast a negative emotion around it. Okay, so then I said, but beyond the image you see initially, there's something more. Meaningful moments of love captured on canvas, painted reminders of the strength of a family after losing a loved one, the feelings of happiness and joy and what truly matters to us captured in a visual form for one to see every day and pass down to their children. So here I'm communicating again how deeply important art is. It's not just a pretty sunset. It's, like I did one that's a sunset with two people and they've just gotten married and they're about to kiss and it's their silhouettes. And to them, that was just such an important moment. And to anyone else, they might just be like, oh, that's pretty. But what we're doing as artists is we're capturing emotion and moments and memories in a way that nothing else really does. I mean, and photography can, but like there's something to creating a painting out of it, creating a drawing or a sculpture, like really going the extra mile and doing something you didn't have to do that. And having it where they can see it every single day. So I'm letting them know this is why you might want some art on your wall. And those were true examples of paintings and things I've done and what they meant to those people. And I'm so honored and grateful to be a conduit for this process for each of my collectors. Again, I'm expressing that it's not just like, oh, I'm so wonderful. It's like, I'm a conduit, like it comes through me. It's partly their idea. They've requested, hey, I'd like this thing. And then I'm the conduit. It's coming through me and my skills and hard work of building those skills. But I don't want to come across just like, look at me, because that's kind of what we have to do as artists. Like we have to promote ourselves, but a lot of us are very humble as well. And so finding that balance of like the look at me thing, but also acknowledging that like this thing wouldn't exist if that person didn't have that idea and that request, especially when it comes to commission work. Or just honoring, you know, like some people think of it like the creative muses, like that your ideas come from some, you know, more spiritual, universal kind of place, and comes through you. So instead of being kind of so like ego driven. And then I said, goodbye, sweet corgis. It's time for you to go remind your mom of how much you mean to her. So I'm ending on a little bit of a like tugging at the heartstrings. Um, and I'm saying, this is why I made this for her. It means a lot to her. And for me, having the art leave me is, you know, it's, I think we all go through that where it's like, you've just looked at this thing for hours and hours and days, and, you know, you finally finished it and now it's gone. So I loved creating it. It's different than my usual. Now I also included original art, original Lauren Jane art. So this links to my Lauren Jane art page on Facebook. So all I did was put the @ and then the name of my page. So if you have a page, an artist page, this is on my personal profile right now, but I want them to hopefully go to my artist page. That's how I linked it. And then I'm establishing that it's pen and ink because sometimes people don't know, especially with my charcoal drawings, they don't know that it's not a photo. So if you're creating really, really realistic stuff, they may not know that it's not a photo. So putting the medium is important. Putting the size is super important too, because people don't have a context. Like unless they've seen the picture of me in front of the art, they don't know, is it huge, is it small? And it really makes a difference. And then I put sold to be like, hey, look, it's sold, which establishes my authority, establishes, you know, my status. It lets them know, like, I didn't just make a piece and nobody wanted it. Somebody actually wanted it. And then if it is still available, if you did make a piece and it hasn't sold yet, let them know. Say it's available, you know, contact me for details. You don't need to necessarily put the price. I kind of go back and forth on whether or not you should put the price because it could kill the sale if you just put it out there. I think it's better to handle that in a private message where you can kind of go back and forth. And let's say maybe you want to haggle and go down your price a little or break it into a payment plan. Then you have a little bit more options. Whereas if you put the price out there, it's done. It is what it is. And there's no conversation to be had unless they're fine with that price. Which when you get into the higher priced art, you kind of have to do a little bit more of the sales conversation and finesse it. Make sure that they understand the value of your art and why it might cost a little bit more, you know, because people don't always know what we put into our art. Okay, so tell them the medium, tell them the size, tell them it's sold or if it's available. And then the other thing is sharing it everywhere. So I shared it, I'm gonna zoom out on this. Okay, I shared it into my stories. View story. Hopefully I'm gonna mute this. Okay, there's me and my happy little like, hey, we went running. I'm gonna fast forward. I have fun with my stories. See, I share personal things that just like, hey, I like to get out and about or, you know, whatever's going on in my day as well. It's not always art all the time. But I took let's see, I did a screenshot. So I did a very nice, like on this kind of a camera photo of the original. That's what I shared directly to Facebook from my computer. Then because stories, I didn't want it to cut off the sides. Like if it was vertical instead of horizontal, it would have cut the image. So I wanted to leave the space. And so I sometimes do a mix of screenshots in order to, you know, do the things I need to between Instagram and Facebook, trying to get, you know, one image to one thing. It's always like, it's fun. But basically here I'm saying my creation's complete, pen and ink on paper. So I'm just kind of boiling it down to the main things that they need to know. Here I went ahead and you can now put the text into a story. So I just copied and pasted this right into there, into the stories. I also took a picture of like, oh, here's it at FedEx, like, goodbye, hope you make it safely. Like, I really do feel that way. But it kind of just adds to the like, oh, look, she personally delivers it, like, you know, takes it to FedEx and here's part of the story. And then I'm saying on to the next commission. So I really do have another commission lined up. And, even if you didn't, you could just say on to the next piece and have another blank canvas or whatever your medium is. I'm also wearing my Mona Lisa shirt, which is kind of fun because it's like, hey, be happy. It's okay that, that one's gone, on to the next, which establishes that I'm a busy artist, that I have a lot of, people in line waiting to do the next piece. So you don't want to come across super needy, super desperate. You want to come across as like, hey, yeah, I'm busy. I would love to make something for you. Like, kind of like get on the list, but like politely, So, because I have to make this piece before I can get to theirs. And when people know that you're in demand, and even if that's, you have to kind of like fudge it a little bit in the beginning, they respect you more though. And that's the whole thing is, I hate to say it, but in the beginning, you got to fake it till you make it. Try to be as authentic as you can, but it doesn't mean you have to share with everyone like, oh my gosh, I have so many pieces I haven't sold. They don't need to know certain aspects. So I hate to say it, it's appearances. But that is the psychology behind the post. Basically, establishing authority, establishing your status, that your customers are happy by giving them a testimonial, letting them know why they should buy art, like what could it mean for them, what could it be for them. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. But basically, when you make art, share it with people, and share it in the post, in the stories, on your art page. And don't just literally hit the share button, because if I just hit share and then I go, let's say, actually, I don't want to share to a page. Let's say I just share it to my Lauren Jane art. It's going to come across differently, and it gets different algorithm love. It's not going to get as much algorithm love. It's harder for them to see the post. If you're in a rush and you have to do this for some reason, at least put something here like, this is my newest piece. See below for details, because you want them to read this big long post you just created and not just like look at it and keep on going. But I think the copy and paste method is best when you're sharing it. Don't literally hit the share button unless you're in a rush or something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna hit stop share. Hopefully that has been helpful. Let me see if there's any comments. Hey, Allison. Hey, Jamie. Whenever you're posting on Facebook or Instagram, just be thinking about who is looking at this, who could be a potential next client, customer. What are they seeing? And if you're just putting the picture of your art and nothing else, they don't know that it's your art. So you need to communicate to them. What do you want them to know? Do you want them to know that it's available? Maybe you want them to know a story behind it. Why did you create it? What does it mean? Give them some context, something to chew on, and let them know that, you're a badass, like that you're an awesome artist and they should want your stuff. Like, I know that sometimes artists have a hard time with the self-confidence, but like, you're making things, you're creating things from nothing. Like, it's a blank canvas or a blank paper, or it's a ball of clay. Like, come on, guys. Like, that's amazing that you can do that. And most people just look at us in awe and they're like, oh man, I can only draw stick figures. You can do better than that. You can do more, and you can help people take something that's from in their mind and create it into reality. Like, that's not something that everybody can do it if they would hone that skill in and work on it. But man, like, appreciate what you do and share it with the world, and share it in a way that they understand what it is, what the medium is. Is it available? What's it mean? What would it look like on their walls? Talk about, do you have a wall that's blank that needs some art? Maybe you need some help figuring out how to decorate a room. So a lot of people, they want to hire interior decorators because they're like, I just don't know how to make it look good. And maybe you're like, oh man, everything in that room is blue, and this blue painting would just it'd pop. Help them see how it could look good in their space and what it would mean to them. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is when you're selling your art, you're selling something that's very meaningful to them, and they're going to read into it, whatever they're going to read into it. And if you want to help them guide them into what you meant by it, and then also leave it open for interpretation, especially with like an abstract. You might be like, oh, that's a landscape with a sunset, duh. And they might be like, oh, that's not at all what I saw. I thought it was a cityscape, or like, I just thought it was colors and it reminded me of, XYZ. You want to leave some room for them to have their own interpretation, but also give them a reason to love your stuff, and help them to see what you see in it and why it's so valuable. And maybe tell them the process, show them the process, video yourself. Like I videoed myself doing the drawing. I'm going to turn it into a time lapse and I'm going to put it on YouTube. And that's, in a way they're going to be like, oh, wow, she did it so quick. Because the time lapse takes out like all the like hard hours of work, but it's fun for people to watch. It's great advertising. If you're not doing shorts on YouTube already, they get thousands of views really quick and easy. Like, especially for artists, it's a great way for us to get more viewers. So if you are an artist that's interested in getting onto YouTube, like I think it's an amazing platform. I think it is, I like Facebook, but I think for us visual artists, I think that YouTube is where it's at, and that Instagram is just a little too, like, it's great to have it, but people are swiping real fast and they might love your piece, but then they just move on to the next. Whereas a video, they might take the time to actually give you some attention and figure out who you are and what you're creating and why you're creating it. So capturing attention is the name of the game. And I hope this has helped you a little bit to figure out like the psychology behind why I post what I post and how you could use it in your own posts. So share in the group today, share with us what you're working on and try using some of these tactics, and we would love to see what you're up to. So have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, watch this video next, and then that one, and then just watch them all. And thanks for being here. See you around.